Before we get started with today's lesson, let's get warmed up. You can see here I got a question. It says, is 3 closer to 0 or 10? So here's 10. 0 would be over here. I want you to think, what would 3 be closer to? Would 3 be closer to 10 or would it be closer to 0? If you said 0, you're correct. Now let's look at a different one. If we looked at 26, is it closer to 20? So we have 26 here. Is it closer to 20 or 30? Here's 30. And 20 would be back here. So an easy way to tell which one it's closer to is to count the hops. So to get from 26 to 30, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4 hops to get to 30. Now in order to get back to 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it takes us 6 hops to get back to 20, and it only takes us 4 hops to get to 30. So it actually get to 30 a lot quicker. So this would be 30 would be the correct answer. So if you said 30, you are correct. Now that we're warmed up for today's math lesson, we're going to be talking about something called symmetry. So what we're going to work to do today is we're going to talk about being able to define the word symmetry, as well as we're going to be able to kind of check out some symmetrical shapes. The first objective we have was being able to explain what symmetry meant. Symmetry means that you're cutting a shape into 2 equal halves that match. So they have to be basically identical. They have to be the same on both sides. So you can see here, we'll start with the pizza. I've got this whole piece of pizza, and when I take and split it into 2 equal parts, you can see that they are the same size, same shape, and that they match. So 2 equal halves. Same thing with the dice. So if I split, the domino. If I split the domino into 2 parts, you can see I can pull them apart. I have 2 identical pieces. So again, symmetry is when you're able to cut a shape into 2 equal halves that match. And then a heart, I can take a heart, if I cut it into 2 equal parts, they match. So they have to be the same on both sides, otherwise it is not considered to be what we would say symmetrical. So again, these shapes, we can make a line of symmetry. So I would make a line of symmetry going right down the middle of this, because that's where we split it. The domino, I would split right down the middle, and then the same thing with the heart. I would draw a line right down the middle, because that would be what we would call, and that was a really bad line, so let me try again here. This would be the line of symmetry that we would draw right down the middle of this shape. So again, symmetry means you're cutting a shape into 2 halves that match. So I'm going to model for you how we can make some shapes show that they are symmetrical. So I've got a black line here in the middle, and I want you to think in your head and answer if it's yes, the shape is symmetrical, or no, it is not. So let me model one. What I mean by this is if I put this triangle right here, this would be symmetrical because both pieces on each side of the line are the same size and shape. Now if I only put this triangle to right here, you can see that this triangle is not showing a line of symmetry. Okay, this is not showing symmetry because the little tiny piece right over here is actually not the same as this big piece. So that triangle where I have it positioned right now is not showing a line of symmetry. It would have to be right in the middle. So as I move the shape, I want you to say, think in your head, yes or no. So I'm going to put this one right here. I want you to think in your head, is this a line of symmetry? If you answered no, you're correct, because it should be right in the middle. And if you're thinking in your head, look, it's a sailboat. You're right, it is a sailboat. Now let's talk about this next one. Think about this. Did I move it to show a line of symmetry? If you answered no, you're correct. This is not correct. Let's try it again. Is this a line of symmetry? No. I would need to move it to the exact middle so that it's in 2 equal halves that match. So this would be showing a line of symmetry. Now I could take this one, the square. Would this be a line of symmetry? No. Now if I put this and split it into 2 parts, I can do this, which shows that both pieces on both sides of the line are the same. Now one thing I can do is if I actually turn this, I could say, oh, you know, is that a line of symmetry? We would say no, but I can actually do the same thing right through the middle of this. So both pieces on both sides are the exact same. You can see they're two triangles on both sides. So depending on how the shape is, for example this yellow shape, some shapes might have more than one line, because I can split this one right here. So if I move that a little bit, you can see that this one now has one line of symmetry. Now I could actually split this again and go right through here, and that would show a line of symmetry, and I could also go right here. So you can see there's three different ways to show symmetry. But let's move this shape and ask a question. If I take this yellow shape over here, where I placed it, is it showing symmetry? You should have answered no. This would better resemble a line of symmetry. And then the last one, I'll move these out of the way so we can get the big circle over here. Would this show a line of symmetry? If you answered yes, you're correct. This line is showing that both pieces on both sides are equal. So to wrap things up, I just want to point out that there's a difference between having a line of symmetry and then not having symmetry. I have the same shape, I just turned it on its side. The first example I have here, you can see that I've drawn a line of symmetry, this white line, right down the middle of it. Now I can pull this shape apart, and you can see that if I was to flip this shape, that they would actually be the exact same. Okay? So this would be what we would call a line of symmetry or a symmetrical shape, because when you pull it apart, they are the same exact on both sides. Now all I did is I took this shape and turned it on its side, and I just thought, you know, let's just take and draw a line right through the middle of it. So if I draw a line and go, look, I made a line of symmetry. I made a symmetrical shape. Now if I pulled these pieces apart and now asked you, okay, if we look at both of these pieces, remember, for it to be symmetrical or have a line of symmetry, it has to have both halves be the exact same size and shape. Now if I put this on top, it might look like they're the same. If I put this on here, you can see that they're not the same size or shape. So be very careful when we're talking about drawing a line of symmetry. Depending on which way the shape is facing, it doesn't always work to just draw a line from top to bottom and say, listen, my shape is symmetry now. That's symmetrical. You can see I drew a line of symmetry, and it's showing that both halves are the same. It all depends on where you draw that line, because I can turn the shape. Now I do not have a line of symmetry. Okay?